You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.
Why would anybody be opposed to sick pay legislation that helps families and in particular helps women? Sick pay is an economic stimulus because it slightly reduces the labor force and it puts more money in the pockets of people who spend 100% of their pay, thus increasing demand for consumer goods. It prevents the spread of disease to coworkers and customers. It encourages people to get treatment for disease because they have sick pay, they can go to the doctor, that may otherwise get worse or get spread to their families. The only thing paid sick pay doesn't do is increase CEO pay. Carrie Lukas from the Conservative Independent Women's Forum is here to take the CEO's side, if I have that right. Carrie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Thom.
And I should add the website is IWF.org for the Independent Women's Forum, conservative think tank. And Carrie, help me figure this out. I don't see any conceivable downside. I mean, Australia put a paid sick leave policy into place in 1922 nationwide. Over 140 countries in the world have this. All of the industrialized countries in the world. We're the only one that doesn't. The country of Austria, where you live, has it. How are we going to not compete with BMW simply because we get sick pay like they get?
Thom, right now I think it's really important to think about not just the people who are out of work and the people who are on the job right now, but you've got to think about this from the perspective of business owners and all the people out there who wish they had jobs. What happens when you increase benefit like paid sick leave, it makes it more expensive for a employer to hire a worker, and that means that they're going to hire fewer workers. Well, and Thom, I know you're going to say, "Oh, but it's good for business."
No,
well,
I'm not going to say that.
Why not
I'm not
give them
going to
a
say
month
that.
of paid sick leave?
Actually, I will say it's good for business, but what I will say is, yes, you're right, Carrie. It does increase the cost of hiring people. So does, following work rules. So does actually paying people for the hours that they work. So does minimum wage. So does, there's a whole list of things. But this has a demonstrable social good. I mean, it's huge. And the cost is very, very small. I don't understand why business would oppose it. And I don't understand why, what kind of a philosophical argument you could make for opposing it. I don't think that any company is going to hire fewer people. Companies hire people based on their needs, not on whether they've got extra money in the bank.
And they also hire people based on their costs. And right now there are a lot of businesses out there who are struggling to provide the paychecks they pay today. And let's first of all be clear that most businesses do provide paid sick leave. And as someone from the representative of the National Federation of Independent Business said, they're not providing paid sick leave. It's probably because they can't afford to. But Thom, I want to I think there's another issue here. And I know that this makes you uncomfortable when we talk about this from a freedom perspective. But basically, I think that it's not the role of government to say, the only way that I can be compensated is in a pay package that includes paid sick leave. We know that means that I'm going to be taking less take-home pay because businesses will have, it does affect their bottom line. It means that you're going to be cutting a little bit out of the paycheck I have.
But it doesn't. There's a lot of places they can cut.
I want them all in my pocketbook.
They could cut it out of dividends that they're paying to their stockholders. They could cut it out of the multi-million-dollar salaries they're paying to their CEOs. They could cut it out of having chrome-plated instead of gold-plated fixtures on the faucets in the washroom in the corporate jet.
But let's assume that these businesses all are the nefarious bad guys that you make them out to be, and that they just want to pay the CEOs as much as they can.
Which is now more than half of all employers in America.
Okay, fine, but then why wouldn't they take this out of employee pay? We know this does increase the cost of hiring a worker. Therefore, these evil corporations absolutely are going to say, "Hey, you're getting another benefit. Therefore, I'm going to take away 5% of your take-home salary."
They wouldn't take it out of employee pay because many of these companies are paying minimum wage, and the government says you can't reduce the wage below. Frankly, I think minimum wage should be increased, but they would not take it out of employee pay because we, the people, are saying, if we're going to give you the benefits of limited liability, if we're going to give you the benefit of deducting from your taxes the cost of doing business, we're going to give you the benefit of deducting from your taxes the 3-martini lunch, then we're going to require that you do business in a way that actually benefits the citizens of this nation, which means protecting the general health and welfare of our nation by not having people who are sick and contagious go to work because they can't afford to lose that day's pay.
Well, Thom, I think that first of all, on the minimum wage, we should, not everybody. It's a small fraction of the workforce that is making minimum wage, and overwhelmingly,
but it's a large fraction of those who have But it's a large fraction of those who have no paid sick pay.
Okay, well then, those are people who are going to have fewer and fewer job opportunities. Right now, the unemployment rate for youth is something like 20%, and you're going to make it less and less attractive as you increase the benefits of the lowest paid workers. You're going to have businesses that are going to say, hey, you know what? I can combine jobs. I can outsource this to India, which is something that I know drives you crazy, but businesses are self-interested, and they're going to figure out ways to make their bottom line work. And if they can't afford the new benefits, they're going to be looking at ways to do things like outsourcing or combining jobs. So this is the absolute wrong direction for us to take if our concern is finding jobs. But I know that's not what the White House or Congress is concerned about. Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be pushing cap and trade and the health care legislation, all of which are tremendous job-killing legislation.
Well, I think they're concerned about jobs, but in these regards, I think they're also concerned about the public health and the future of our planet. We're talking with Carrie Lukas. She's the Vice President of Policy and Economics at the Independent Women's Forum, IWF.org. And Carrie, it sounds to me like at the end of the day, right down at the bottom line, the argument that we're having is whether an economy is here for the purpose, because governments create economies. We, the people, create economies. We provide the court system within which contracts are enforced, the jails to enforce them, the laws of the game, the laws by which contracts are enforced. We provide limited liability corporations, allow them to incorporate. Whether economies, a stable currency and a banking system, all that stuff, we provide that through our government. Whether we create economies so that we can have a better life as citizens, or whether citizens are here to be fodder for those who own the economies, the lords of the economy. And if the former is the case, I would submit to you that paid sick leave is not just a simple piece of this, but a moral imperative. If the latter is the case, I think your argument makes a lot of sense.
No, I would frame this in a very different question. I think that we're basically asking, what is the proper role of government and what is the rights of individuals to enter into contracts? Right now, it's not just that the government is about to say, okay, it is illegal to accept an employment contract that does not include paid sick leave. You're also about to say you have to have exactly this insurance. Where does it stop, Thom? What is it that I'm allowed to?
I think it might stop here. Do you think that it's illegal for an individual or a company to engage in a contract with a 10-year-old to work?
Children are a separate issue, but I think on adults, I think that
so
the minimum
you think the
wage
government
law
should play a role in private contracts and the right to contract?
Fine, protecting children, but let's focus on adults here, and that's who we're talking about. And I do believe that there should be. I think minimum wage laws have been incredibly damaging, and that's one of the reasons why teenage unemployment is so high, because there's a lot of people out there who say, boy, I'd love to give this 17-year-old a shot, but he's not worth. Why is it
every time since 1935 when minimum wage goes up over the following 3 years, GDP goes up and employment goes up?
Well, Thom, I think right now we just had a pretty big increase in the minimum wage, and I know that there's a lot of teenage out there who would say, I don't care what happened in the 1930s or in the 1940s. Right now I want a job, because it's not about, for a lot of kids out there, it's not about the $6 or whatever it is they're gonna earn. It's about getting some experience, some actual work experience. And the thing is that we do have a bunch of rich kids go out and they take internships, and those aren't paid. So, the members of Congress.
It seems to me like slave labor, but. So, okay, I think we've presented both sides of the argument here, Carrie.
Right now.
IWF.org, Carrie Lukas, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thanks for having me on, Thom.
Always good talking with you. We'll be back.